Joining us now live in New Hampshire, back from a big rally last night, Corey Lewandowski, Senior Advisor, Trump Pens 2020, three-time New York Times bestseller, Let Trump Be Trump, also Trump's Enemies, and has got a new book out, Trump's America First. You can get it all on Amazon, and he's been crisscrossing the country now every day as a key Trump Pence surrogate. Hey, Corey, great to have you with us again.
Good morning, John. Great to be back with you.
Corey, I tell you what, I feel better today, October 26, 2020, than I did October 26, 2016. I thought we were going to win then. You look at these early voting numbers, Corey, in Florida. They're stunning. They're stunning numbers. And I think we're going to win Florida by 4 or 5 based on what I've seen and you've seen. Is this a harbinger?
Well, John, let me tell you where we are. We have set early voting records for Republicans in the state of Florida. We have been very aggressive in getting people to show up early, but we also know that Republicans historically like to vote on Election Day. We almost always win Election Day in every state, and that's a real problem for the Democrats. So our numbers in Florida are very strong. They know that. Joe Biden isn't going back to Florida anytime soon. He's going to go down to Georgia, I think maybe tomorrow if he can get out of the basement. We know he's not working today. He didn't work yesterday. You contrast that with the president who was in New Hampshire yesterday, then he went up to Maine yesterday, and then he flew back to Washington last night, did an event at the White House for Halloween for all the kids in Washington, D.C. Today, 3 stops in Pennsylvania. He's got another trip out west, and, you know, I have tried to keep up with the president's calendar, his schedule, and it's just almost impossible, John. But, look, we feel very, very good of where we are right now. The path is clearly there for us, and the American people want somebody who's willing to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make this country great again. So that's what they respect, and that's why you're seeing these massive crowds everywhere. Why is Biden going to Georgia? It's a great question. Look, this is, John, I turned on the computer this morning. I was looking at some of the numbers. They say it's a dead even race in Texas. Joe Biden is winning in Georgia. It's the exact same false narrative that we saw 4 years ago. Let me take you back to October 24th, 2016. The headline in the Washington Post on October 24th, 2016, almost exactly 4 years ago, was, quote, Donald Trump's chances of winning the election are approaching 0. That was a headline 4 years ago. Obviously, we know that wasn't true. But this is what it is Joe Biden is on the offense. He's putting states in play that Democrats don't historically win. That's what the media narrative is trying to say to suppress Republican vote. But the truth is, Joe Biden is not going to win any state that Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. It's just there's no path for Joe. His debate performance was an utter and unmitigated disaster. He's spending time now trying to articulate what he meant when he said we're going to get rid of fossil fuels. How do you think that plays in Texas, John? You think the guys in Dallas are really excited about Joe getting rid of the oil business? I don't think so.
That's ridiculous. And CBS has a poll that says Biden's up by 5 in Texas. I mean, Trump is going to win Texas by 5. I mean, all you have to do is see that, and these are fake polls, and they're all designed to deliver the narrative that you just said. Corey, let's talk about the rally last night in New Hampshire.
John, it was a monster rally last night, okay? The president showed up here at an airport rally in Manchester on a fairly chilly afternoon in late October. We put about 18,000 people through the magnetometers, which was the inside section. There was another probably 8,000 or 9,000 people outside the magnetometer area that couldn't get into the secured facility part. All of a sudden, you're looking north of, potentially 25,000 people who show up at a rally for Donald Trump outside. Some people had camped out overnight. Look, this is a state, New Hampshire, that is a battleground state. It is a state that Donald Trump lost by less than 2,800 votes 4 years ago. He has delivered for this state, and I believe the people of New Hampshire are going to turn out and show their support by voting for him. We're also a state, John, that does not have a permanent absentee voter file. We don't have a lot of early voting, so it's a state that breaks very late. And when you look at what this president's been able to achieve, let alone the Middle East peace process, John, which he's now got, multiple countries involved in, today we're going to see Amy Coney Barrett confirmed as the next Associate Justice of the Supreme Court and sworn in this afternoon. So the people of New Hampshire know the successes of this president. I was at the rally yesterday. I flew on Air Force One up to the off-the-record stop, we call it, up in Maine for the president to buy some pumpkins and some donuts and some squash and some other items up there. And at an off-the-record stop, John, meaning it wasn't announced, it was not scheduled, 4,000 people showed up to see the President of the United States come into Bangor, Maine. It was pretty amazing.
Because it wasn't on the schedule, not announced, they just had a couple hours notice ahead of time for that, right?
That's exactly right, John. Look, we were up in Bangor, Maine. It was fairly rural. We drove about 15 minutes from the airport. The president stopped at this farm. It was a working farm. They had a corn maze there. I mean, it was quintessential Maine. It was amazing, and the outpouring of support up there was just incredible. People came from all over the place, and think about it. In literally a few hours, when we were at the Manchester rally, I was getting updates, about every 15 minutes of how many people showed up because we finally said we're coming up there. At first, we thought we'd get 100 people. Then they said there's 200 people. Then they said there's about 250 people. John, we showed up. There was 4,000 people sitting there on this farm waiting for the president to arrive. They were in full MAGA gear. They know what this president has done. They were so grateful to see him. Joe Biden could plan a rally, an election night rally, and he can't get 4,000 people there, John. And everyone knows what date that's coming. Donald Trump shows up with 2 hours' notice and puts 4,000 people in a barn in a farm. It was amazing.
And the rally last night in New Hampshire, Corey, 25 to 30,000 people there, 18,000, like you said, inside. Those are documented. Another 8. That's 26, 27,000 people in total in an airport. And it was a raw night in New Hampshire. It was relatively chilly out. You got people waiting all day, like you said, some overnight. How does New Hampshire look?
Well, John, it's going to be a battle. I'm not going to kid you, right? We take nothing for granted, but it's a small state, and small amount of votes make the difference in a state like this. And so we are out knocking on doors. We have done more work on the ground in the state of New Hampshire than Joe Biden has done in the entire country. We've got more voter contacts in the state of New Hampshire than Joe Biden has done in the entire country. And people will say, well, Joe is, respecting the notion of COVID-19 and not contacting voters. John, we're doing it safely via doors. We're doing it via phones, right? We've got a great operation up running in New Hampshire. Not only are we going to be very competitive in New Hampshire, but we're also going to be very competitive in the 2nd Congressional District of Maine, which is a district that allocates their electoral vote proportionately. So we're battling there. Our path to 270, John, is very clear. The president's in Pennsylvania today. He's got 3 stops there. After Joe Biden's disgusting, terrible, failing debate performance when he said he's going to get rid of fracking and the energy industry, I don't see how Joe does well in Pennsylvania anymore, and the president's going to go talk about that. And the other addition, John, that we've seen, which has been an add-on to the president's rallies, is Joe Biden in his own words now, John. When he says, I never said get rid of fracking, put it up on your website. Boom. Everywhere we go, the president is now playing his message. It's Joe Biden in his own words saying he's going to get rid of fracking, get rid of the energy industry, and transition away from fossil fuels. You know what that means, John? It means transitioning to $6 a gallon for gasoline for your car. And in a state like my home state, where you get home heating oil, that means those prices go through the roof, and people won't be afford to heat their homes under a Joe Biden administration.
Corey Lewandowski with us, Senior Advisor, Trump Pens 2020, traveling the country now as a key surrogate for the president, the final 8 days of this race. Corey, I feel very good about Florida. You look at the numbers that are coming in, and even the fake news can't spin it. The number of Republican early voters way up, cutting into their mail-in ballot lead. Let's go to North Carolina. I know you spent a lot of time there. The spinal cord of victory runs Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. We're going to win Georgia, all right? Biden can go there and have his 18 people show up. Trump is going to win Georgia. That leaves North Carolina on game day. We got an extended period of time, unless it gets overturned, for these ballots to come in. Tell us about our status right now in North Carolina, Corey Lewandowski.
So, John, here's where we are in North Carolina. 4 years ago, we went into North Carolina on Election Day down about 500,000 votes, meaning that through their early voting process, the Democrats had turned out more people, which is very typical in the state of North Carolina. They turned out about 500,000 or 500,000 votes more than we had going into Election Day. We went into Election Day, and trounced the Democrats, and obviously Donald Trump won the state of North Carolina. And I want to remind you that Mitt Romney also won the state of North Carolina against Barack Obama in 2012. It was the only battleground state of the battlegrounds that Mitt Romney actually carried. So Mitt Romney won the state in 2012. We won the state in 2016. Where we are today, based on the early vote numbers, is our margin or our delta between what the Democrats have already voted and where we are is significantly smaller than what it was 4 years ago. Why is that important, John? Because, again, I go back to the fact that Republicans historically vote on Election Day, even in states like North Carolina, which means the Democrats are cannibalizing their Election Day vote. We're going to go into Election Day with a smaller margin than we went into last time, a smaller deficit, if you will, than we went into it last time, which means we're poised for victory there. That is a state that, as you know, John, has a huge military presence, and no president has done more for the military since at least Ronald Reagan than Donald Trump has. He's rebuilt our militaries, gave our men and women in uniform the pay raises they deserve. They're going to remember that in North Carolina. So our spine, John, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. Obviously, I'm taking Texas off the map. That's going to be in the win column for us. Put Ohio and Iowa in that same category. And then you build out the rest of the typical Republican states. And what I mean by that is the, Wyomings of the world, the North and the South Dakotas of the world, those places. And we are very clear of what our path is. We need one additional state, John, in the upper Midwest, or the old Rust Belt. If you give us Minnesota, we win. You give us Wisconsin, we win. You give us Michigan, we win. You give us Pennsylvania, we win. You give us Nevada and New Hampshire, boom, we're in, okay? John, we're there. We know what the battleground is. You're going to see this president in all of these places again, multiple times over the next 8 days. This guy's engine is turned all the way up. He is on fire, and he got stronger as the day went on yesterday.
Well, I know that his energy, Corey Lewandowski, boundless. I tell you what, Arizona, which really all the polls for months looked bad, and some had him down by 8, 10, McSally some had her down by double digits. Now they have a Republican registration advantage. Looks like in Arizona, Corey, in the last 2 weeks, Republicans coming home there. Trump's pulled ahead. Biden now not even looking at that state as a possible win now, right?
John, I was in Arizona on Thursday of last week. I went out and campaigned for Martha McSally, helped her raise some money, was on the ground helping the Trump team out there. We've got about 100,000 person voter registration advantage from Republican to Democrats out there. We feel very good about Arizona. It's a state we won 4 years ago. And I'll tell you what, Martha McSally, from a person who was way down, has come back to be even or slightly ahead in that race. She's going to win that race. It's going to help us retain the Senate majority. And Donald Trump is going to win. And by the way, we've got a couple battles in Maricopa County with a couple boards of supervisors and attorney race in that state, in that county. It's the third or fourth largest county in America. It's very competitive, and I was there all day Thursday last week campaigning. The enthusiasm for Donald Trump in Arizona is as high as anywhere I have ever seen it. That state is coming home.
Corey Lewandowski with us. Corey, let's look at COVID numbers right now. Cases up, and the Democrats saying this is really Trump's Achilles heel. Now we've got several people on the vice president's staff that tested positive, and so they're stirring up the fear again, saying that the president's failed. We have, record-breaking cases. How do you see this affecting the campaign in the final 8 days?
John, it's so interesting because we have to look, we don't count in any other disease that I have ever been, familiar with, whether it's the flu or influenza or whatever. We don't count how many people get it. John, we're now counting every time a person is diagnosed with COVID, okay? What are we doing that for? If we want to talk about how many people are dying, that's one thing. If we want to talk the fact that all these people have caught COVID, okay, guess what? A lot of people catch a cold. A lot of people catch all kinds of things. Look at how low our death rate has gotten. Look at what's happening in other countries. Because of the policies and protocols that this country has put in place, and specifically Donald Trump and Mike Pence, we are better than the rest of the world right now. We see that Italy is going back into a lockdown. We see that France is going back into a lockdown. We're not doing that. We're reopening our economy. We're putting people back to work, and this president has been very clear. Unlike Joe Biden, He's giving people the opportunity to make a living for their families, John. And look, I don't want anybody to die from COVID-19. I don't want anybody to die at all. But the truth is, people have to go out and earn a living, because if you can't earn a living and you lose your home or you lose your car or you lose your job because the government has decided that you or your company is a non-essential business while all these government employees continue to work, none of them take pay cuts, John, it's an unsustainable model. So, look, are people going to get it? You bet they are. Do we know more about this disease now than we did 6 months ago? You bet we do. Look at how fast people are recovering. And so, look, therapeutics are coming. A remedy is coming. There is nobody who's ever been shorted on a ventilator because of what this administration has been able to do. So let's not kid ourselves. It's the narrative that the far left wants to push because they think it hurts the president the most. They're not even talking about Middle East peace, John. They're not talking about all the success that this president's been able to have, but they want to talk about all the negative things. The American people are smart. They see right through it.
I think you're right. Look, you can't live your life in fear, and I think all the president has said is, for a while, we're going to have to deal with this. But, I gave the example. I was interviewed with Politico yesterday, and I gave the example. I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, as you know. By the way, New England, 2 wins, 4 losses, got blown out yesterday. Sorry, don't look good. Anyway, I'm a Titans fan. I said, look, 25 of the Titans players got COVID. They had to shut down for a week, whatever. They won 2 games in 5 days and almost came back yesterday to beat the Steelers. Obviously, it had no impact on 24, 25, 26, and 7 people that are perfectly healthy. So, I mean, this infatuation with cases, I mean, I'm sure if you tested everybody, all 330 million people today, I'm sure cases would be up again. But people are recovering in 3 days. So I don't get this overemphasis with cases. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. The other thing they say, Corey, completely false narrative, is this is what the fake news will say. Hospitals on the verge of getting overwhelmed. But in 7 months, there's no hospital that's been overwhelmed. So they're always on the verge of getting overwhelmed, but they never get overwhelmed. And the hospital beds that we have are far in excess of those that we need. Ventilators far in excess. So how do you combat this complete fake news narrative?
John, you have to remember something. Hospitals make money not through their emergency rooms, okay? Emergency rooms are losers from a financial perspective for hospitals. They make money through elective surgeries, meaning people come in and want to have their hips replaced or knees replaced or whatever it is. People want to come in and do preventative care such as mammogram screenings and all those things. Well, guess what? Hospitals aren't doing those anymore. Hospitals are going out of business because of COVID. They're going out of business because people are saying, don't come to the hospital. You have to postpone all these things. Hospitals are going out of business because of COVID is what's happening. The experts, if you will, John said, every hospital bed in America will be taken. And what did Donald Trump do? He sent the Mercy up to the states, the U.S. naval ship. He says, hey, we're going to send you extra beds. We're going to turn the Javits Center into an emergency care facility. They were never utilized, John, because the experts have been wrong. And look, we've tested 120 million people, or 1/3 of the U.S. population, has been tested for COVID-19. What that means is we're doing more testing than all of the other areas combined. All of Europe combined, we've done more testing than. So, of course, we're going to get more people who are positive. The more testing you do, the more people are going to test positive. John, but what we know, and you've said this, is people are beating this thing in 2 days, 3 days. And look, I'm not trying to downplay it, not even a little bit. I bet you I have been tested, without exaggeration, north of 40 times. And the reason for that is because of either my close proximity to the president or for travel reasons. But look, John, I was tested yesterday because I traveled on Air Force One with the president yesterday. And so I went and got my COVID test. And guess what? Came back negative. I think that was number 41 or 42 times I've been tested. But look, testing is available. We're doing it. And the more people we test, the more people we're going to find who were positive. And my guess, John, is before we even started this test, there are a number of people who probably had contracted COVID-19 that didn't even know about it. And guess what? They survived.
Exactly. All right, look, final thing, and I got to go. I hate to bring up, be a Debbie Downer here at the end, but What's the deal with your Patriots?
With my Patriots? Hey, look, when you give up and you lose the greatest quarterback in the world, and maybe the greatest quarterback who's ever played the game, Tom Brady, right? It's just not the same. And look, we still trust Bill, but you always got to have a rebuilding year, John. And I've got so many Super Bowl rings on our fingers. I just forget how many. Is it 7, 8? John, so I get tired of winning sometimes. I guess I don't know. I forget.
Corey Lewandowski in New Hampshire. Senior advisor, Trump Penn's 2020 Patriots 2-4 got blown out at home yesterday by San Francisco. Thank you, Corey. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, John.
It's just a bad run here for Boston, right? Red Sox don't make the playoffs. Patriots not going to make the playoffs, but you guys will be back. I know that. John Fredericks Radio Network. Corey Lewandowski says we're going to win this thing.